Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we did a mission dealing with the Dark Eldar, as it says up in the right corner here, the Drukhari Menace, Terra Incognita. We dealt with Dark Eldar. So we'll jump back into fighting them and I think actually finish off this story, or at least get it a little bit further.
This abandoned station is definitely used by the Dark Eldar.
Skip that dialogue quick. So, recently was Warhammer Skulls, the event. If you don't know what it is, it's effectively Warhammer E3. You know, they announce all their new stuff, upcoming stuff, miniatures, games, what have you. And for games, they announced Bolt Gun, which is, it's flat out, it's an old, people call it a boomer shooter, which just makes me feel old, but it's, if you ever played like Quake 2, a very low graphics, 3D-ish shooter, looks pretty good. You know, I find it difficult to actually screw up that kind of game design. There was an orc one that's like a platform shooter. I can't even remember the name of it. It wasn't that important to me. I was like, okay, that's kind of neat, but that's about it. There's a Rogue Trader CRPG, which it's made by the same people who did the Pathfinder video games, so Kingmaker and I believe Wrath of the Righteous, which I've heard good things about. You know, they're essentially Pathfinder, or if someone's never played the Pathfinder, D&D, but as a video game. There's that. They talked a little bit, very little, on Space Marine 2. And then there was a bit about Vermintide 2 getting a free little DLC thing. And actually, this game, Inquisitor, is getting a next-gen upgrade. It's a pack that seems to include 25 DLC, and then the game. They didn't say if you already own the game, if you get anything, whether it's a discount or a free upgrade. I would appreciate a free upgrade, because what you actually get from the next-gen version of the game is like higher quality graphics, apparently more environmental destruction, and that's really it. It's nothing worth pointing out as like, oh, this is such a big deal, you know. It's all very plain and kind of by the numbers. And I feel like charging even $40 is kind of steep. The game's 4 years old. You know, the last DLC was a good year and a half ago, I think, if not longer. There's nothing really that major at this point. So it's just kind of one of those things where they haven't said what's up for us existing owners, and it's a little annoying. I get it, it's not going to be their first priority, but it is something that should be, quickly mentioned. But that was all the major stuff worth noting. Oh, they also had stuff for Dark Tide, but, still waiting to hear if we ever get that on PlayStation or if we're just screwed. But in the vein of ARPGs like this, if you haven't been watching stuff on Diablo Immortals, you're in for a big treat on this one. So, their little beta, whatever, launched. People can play it, people are playing it, people are already data mining it and going through everything. And it's a free-to-play Diablo. of course they gotta make money. Just like how Path of Exile has to make money, and any free-to-play does. So, take a guess as to how much money you have to spend. I'll let you guess a range. Okay, just a range of money from X to Y for how much you would have to spend to max out a character. Now, when I say max out, I'm not 100% sure if that is best stats, but it is maxing out. And I'm going to explain that in a second. So, with maxing out, the way I have seen it is you have standard gear like you always do. You have slots for items and what have you. And to get all of these stats out of some of these weapons, you have to slot in legendary gems. Which, if you remember from Diablo, I mean, pretty much every Diablo, you get legendary gems and they're uniquely named and they give you some fancy boosts. The thing is, let's say you're playing a necromancer, you might need one that's usually used for a monk, and you have to slot that in, and you have to level it up for the better effects, and, you know, so on and so forth, so you can burn a lot of time and resources doing this. But already, you know, that sounds like a lot of work, right? Having to get all these gems and put them into your gear. The thing is, they range from 1 star to 5 star.
Admirable work, Inquisitor.
As a free-to-play player, you only have access to the 1 and 2 star. You have to pay, from what I've seen, to actually get the 3, 4, and 5 star.
Professional curiosity with a hint of personal vengeance.
One day, I'll find out.
And so, waiting for this dialogue to end, because I don't like talking over it, but so you have these 3 to 5 star gems you have to buy, and you're not guaranteed them. People are saying when you do the polls for 5 star gems, you have 0.5% drop chance. And I believe people are calculating how much you have to spend based on effectively the gambler's fallacy. That being, if something has a 1 in 10 chance, you expect it on the 10th chance to automatically give it to you. I believe that's how people are weighing this and doing the money, which is actually the cheaper way of doing this. Because, in theory, every roll's a separate instance, and regardless of whether you've done 2 rolls or 2,000, you may not get something. But already, you know, you're looking at having to buy gems to slot into gear. Just that alone, because that's what I've heard. And some people are saying some gear... This is horrible. Some gear, you have to log in daily to keep. Stuff you can even potentially pay for, you have to continually log in for. But this sounds bad. Take a guess as to how much you have to spend. $1,000? $2,000? Estimates from Eurogamer, and I've seen actually a number of gaming sites talk about this. The estimates range from having to spend anywhere from $90,000 to $110,000 to max out a character. Just think about that. $90,000 to $110,000. And the sad part is, let's say everybody's wrong. We're all idiots, and it's only half as much. $45,000 to $55,000? That's still not a good look. That is a nice, very nice new car. That is, in some cases, a down payment on a house. That is far more than you should reasonably be spending on a mobile game. And that is just It's terrible. I'm gonna be real. It is horrible. Horrendous. It is incredibly scummy and also incredibly stupid for someone to have sat down, looked at that, even, like I said, even if half, they still looked at it and said, yeah, this is a reasonable amount of money to charge people. And then I look at this game and it's just like, oh yeah, buy the game and then just play it. Have fun. God, that is horrendous. And it's amusing to me because people have sat there every time Blizzard does something stupid, they're like, oh, this is the worst thing they've done. And I think of The Simpsons, I think it was the Simpsons movie, where Bart goes, this is the worst day of my life, and Homer goes, the worst day of your life so far. And I just think about that. Is people sitting here, oh, this is the worst thing Blizzard's done. The worst thing they've done so far. They can always do worse. And they seem really keen on proving us correct in that statement. I'm shocked, but also I'm not shocked at all. Because part of this is, you know, the curse of mobile gaming. Mobile gaming, I always see people, oh, it's the future of games. It really isn't. Mobile games can be summed up as a PC port of a shooter, be it COD Mobile, Fortnite, PUBG, or even just a port of a PC game or console game. Look at Grand Theft Auto ports, look at XCOM. I mean, it's been years since Enemy Unknown got ported. But the point is, it's that. It's gacha-style games. It's Match 3 games. Or it's Farmville clones. And that's all it is. And there really isn't a lot of room to work. Oh, and clash of insert other adjective here, or noun. Clash of kings, clans, ham, whatevers. It's a something of something. I mean, hell, there's a 40K clash of whatever style game. Do I play it? Hell no. I hate those games. I used to play one that was in the browser online years and years ago. And after a while, I just grew tired of that style because there's nothing to interface with. It was all just timers. But so I find it funny when people say, oh, mobile gaming's the future. And yeah, it isn't. Look at how unsecure mobile marketplaces are. How many things are like, hey, this is a recent thing too. Tim Hortons, if you are in Canada or are Canada adjacent, you'll know of this place. We will do the radical thing, help the guy out. Alright, I'll continue my thought in the next mission. I just realized that entire storyline is done now. Oh, we have to talk to Thelema. I think this ends it.
Magos.
Yeah. Oh, we can continue it with
Inquisitor.
talking to
Inquisitor.
Captain. Yep. And we'll go do that.
Captain, any luck with establishing contact with the governor?
No. The raiders must use a Xeno scrambling device. That was also the reason why we couldn't send you closer to the palace. At least I think that's what the tech priest told me in his lecture.
I'll try to get closer to the palace then. By the Emperor.
Now, as I was saying, Tim Hortons. They recently got in trouble with the Canadian government because they have an app. And they're like, hey, do you want... They're like, hey, can we have permission to ping your location? And people, people just say, yeah, sure, it's not a big deal. But then people were using the there's a Canadian law that lets you, I had to learn this secondhand because I'm not Canadian, but they have a law that essentially lets them contact companies that are collecting information and say, hey, give me everything that you have on me. And so the parent company was like, yeah, sure, whatever, here's the information. They sent some JSON files, which it's just a file type if you're not familiar. And what happened was people started looking into it, because JSONs are real easy to kind of read and figure out what's going on in them. That's how they're built. But so people were looking at it, and it had a lot of information. It would figure out where your home is based on it pinging you every 2 to 5 minutes. It would figure out if you went on vacation, like if you left the country, it would kind of flag your account as like on vacation. It worked with a company known for geofencing, which is essentially using GPS to kind of figure out where you are. And they would get all this information. Are you going to work? Are you at home? Are you going by a competitor? Are you going by our places? Did you stop in? Did you not stop in? And it was just tons and tons of information, to the point where the Canadian government went, hey, this is too much information to be pulling, and no one agreed to this much stuff.
Then you must be the perfect candidate for this task. These filthy Xenos are trying to break into my palace, and honestly, this ruckus is getting truly terrifying.
Wish you could just, like, force these guys to shut up.
These grotesque machines that scream and kill, and we are entirely powerless against them. Only a couple of flimsy barricades are left between them and my precious prisons.
There are more. I've just killed them.
But as I was saying, you have this extreme amount of personal information being taken. And you're probably wondering, well, how does this pertain to mobile gaming? This is part and parcel for what we see a lot of times. Games, apps, a lot of stuff requesting a lot of information that they don't really need to. And when, take yourself for instance. How often do you look at who's actually making apps? What's the account behind the game? Because I've seen a bunch of them that are like crypto ones. Obviously, already you're looking at not exactly the best people sometimes, but they would be apps that are like, oh, if you watch these ads and play our game, you can earn money, or you can earn like a Bitcoin. And I sat there and I was like, wait, how many? And I was looking into it, and people were watching like, oh, you only have to watch like 20 ads and you can get a Bitcoin. I'm like, you realize how much a Bitcoin is worth? Watching 10 ads is not getting you an actual Bitcoin. And it would sit there and be like, oh, well, to pay out, you need to give us information for your your crypto wallet. So if you have like PayPal or something, and I was like, wait, this sounds shady. So I looked up the app, and first off, the maker was like some name. It was like jwong4927@gmail.com. I'm like, who the hell's trusting this? This is the kind of stuff that scrapes information to steal your crypto wallets. And I looked at the reviews, and all these people were like, yeah, it doesn't actually pay out. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out you're not getting paid complete Bitcoins for even 100 ad watches.
Teleport beacon in range.
But so it bugged me because that's the kind of stuff we're starting to see. All you have to do, and this account that was making all these, it made like half a dozen different play our game, watch ads, get crypto kind of deals, and all of them are the same thing. It's the maker gets money from ads. So they're essentially scamming money out of people, or out of advertisers. And it's such a big problem. And I'm like, how long until we start seeing more of this enter the gaming sphere? I mean, we've seen asset flips on Steam and stuff. How long until we start getting asset flips in mobile? They're already here to a degree. Years ago, I was doing freelance programming stuff, and specifically freelance game design. And there were tons of people who'd be like, hey, can you make a, like, match 3 game clone or whatever clone? And that's all they want. They didn't care about anything besides, hey, how cheap can you make a knockoff of an existing game? What was it? Candy Crush. That was what they wanted to have knockoffs made of. And how many people actually pay attention to the permissions that are being asked? People have found a lot of apps, big name apps, some like TikTok, where people have found it checks what's in your clipboard. So what you've copied on your mobile device, on your phone, your tablet, whatever. Why does it need that information? Why is it going for that? How long till we start seeing that? And this is why I absolutely hate the mobile game market. Because it's, like with Diablo Immortals, incredibly shady business practices, which I believe they're not launching in, like, Belgium and another country because they have certain, like, gambling laws, effectively. You know, anti-loot box stuff. And I think there's a few games, actually, that aren't launching because, at least in certain countries, because of that. And that's even been exasperated because of the loot box case against EA. What had happened there was, I think it was the Belgian government again. It's a European nation, I can't remember the exact one. But they had taken them to court being like, hey, you can't do these like FIFA Ultimate Team packs and all this stuff because they're gambling. And EA kept sitting here like, no, it isn't. It's, you know, remember the surprise mechanics line? That absolutely god-awful corpo speak to try to evade actually admitting what their product is. It finally ended, and the government was like, oh, hey, we won't, you know, bust your ass in half if you make it so the loot boxes are predominantly gained by free-to-play means, and if the game is more skill-oriented than anything. Which, realistically, if you take a FIFA or a Madden, you could argue, oh, well, the skill is in picking players and playing the players and picking the plays and all that. You could argue that's the skill and circumvent everything and still sell your 99 Messi for half or quarter of a percent drop chance in a $2 pack or something. You can still justify it by pulling stuff like that. It just said, too, that a lot of the packs have to be earned by free-to-play. Doesn't mean the good ones have to be earned by free-to-play players, so they can dole out garbage packs to people and be like, see, they're predominantly earned for free, it's just if you want the good ones, you have to pay. And I'm not saying this is what's happening, but it's a very possible reality. Once again, look at Diablo. Nobody expected tens of thousands of dollars to max out a character in an ARPG. Yet here we are. Ah, that just bugs me. The industry is in such a weird place. But that... Oh, hang on, we'll talk to her quick. Done. But that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.